Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. For those of you who don't know us yet, I'm Varun. I'm a trainee radiologist in the UK. Don't wanna introduce yourself? What's going on here, mate? Welcome back, guys. For those of you who don't know us yet, I'm Varun. I'm a trainee radiologist in the UK.
And my name's Sanchit. I'm a psychiatry trainee in the UK.
It's that time of year again. For those of you not in the medical field, August is a time not only all doctors in training rotate, i.e. go to new hospitals, but it's also the time all the new doctors across the country start at the same time.
On the same day.
On the same day.
Yeah.
So all these medical students have been working hard for 5 or 6 years, trying to build up their skills to become a doctor, and finally they're let loose. It's an exciting time, scary time.
Scary would be another word I'd use to describe it.
I vividly remember feeling very scared.
Yeah.
What we thought we'd talk about is the best things about being a foundation trainee. I know there's a lot of negativity about being a doctor right now in the media, and I think a lot of it is sadly quite justified. But we thought we'd add some positivity.
Lighten the mood a little bit, you know?
Lighten the mood a little bit, because there are some good things, and I think it's important to remember that.
So I think one of the best things for me was, I think maybe quite specific to my situation, but I'd moved across the country. I went to university in London and I did my training in the Leeds area. And because I moved across country, I didn't know anyone when I started. Everyone was new to me, the city was new to me. And when you start F1, everyone's kind of in the same boat, that they've left their friends at uni or they may know a few people around. And so everyone's very open to getting to know new people, and everyone's open to socializing, going out, going for dinners, things like that. And it kind of feels like uni again in a weird way where you still have to go to work. But outside of work, everyone's in that uni kind of mindset.
True, yeah, I'd agree with that. It's like a new beginning because like Sanchit said, some people stay in the city that they went to university in. And yeah, you kind of know a few people, but a lot of people move. And I moved to a different city for the specific reason of I kind of wanted to start something new.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember driving down to Manchester, like all my stuff in the back of my car, like, oh, gonna be a doctor tomorrow. Like moving into a new flat with a guy I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone in the hospital I was working in. And I remember going on the first day and everyone stood around. Oh, hi, nice to meet you. What's going on? We had an assessment.
You had an assessment on the first day?
Yeah, we had an assessment where
they
gave you clinical scenarios and just sort of saw what you did. I think to make sure you were safe.
That's what medical school's for.
But yeah, so it was a great time because you get to meet a lot of people. Everyone is nervous, everyone's scared. I think it's difficult to explain because foundation training, like your first year of being a doctor, the first few years of being a doctor, they're so exciting and so scary in a way. It's a real experience to go through, and it does bond people together. So people that I met in foundation training are now some of the best friends that I have.
Yeah, same.
Some of them were like best men at my wedding. I still see them regularly, even though they've moved away to different parts of the country for various training programs. It's like any difficult experience. If you go through that with a group of people, you're going to be friends for life with some of them anyway.
And these people are all kind of the same age, have done the same amount of university as you. They're all in kind of similar places to you. It's not like, I think for a lot of other jobs, you start and you're with people of all different ages. There are people that are 30, 40, 50, 60 or whatever. And so you don't get the same experiences with everyone's kind of, or 80% of people in like mid-20s. It's quite unique, I think.
But yeah, I'd agree with that. I think meeting new people was one of the best things about foundation training.
How about you? What's the best thing you can remember?
The best thing I remember? I think for me, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in terms of a specialty when I finished foundation training. So all throughout medical school, some people have an idea, some people from day one are, I want to be a neurosurgeon, and they go on to be neurosurgeons. Like, fair play to you, I rate that if that's one of you. Or I want to be, the more common things, I want to be GP, and they go on and be GPs. But for me, I didn't really have that much of an idea. I kind of had cardiology in the back of my mind, but I'll be honest, just because it sounds sexy.
Yeah, fair. It does sound sexy.
Cardiologist, like, you know what I mean? It sounds like...
I'm a heart doctor.
So what do you do? Just a cardiologist, you know? Just a heart doctor.
Yeah. What's the chat up line? It's,
oh, mate.
I break hearts, but I fix them too.
Yeah, breaking hearts, but fix them too, don't worry. Sexy, sleazy, I don't really know. But anyway.
Depends who's saying it.
Yeah, true. So yeah, so I kind of had that in the back of my mind, but I didn't really know. Yeah. So every job, and in the UK, the way foundation training works, it's different to America, I think. Every 4 months we start a new specialty.
And that's the mad thing. You can go from like one end of the spectrum to a completely different specialty.
Yeah.
Or you can go from something really generic, kind of like RESP, to something like super specialized. It can be literally anything.
So for me, the most exciting thing was I'd go into every specialty with an open mind. And it's really, in a nerdy kind of way, it's really exciting to be like, oh, maybe I'll be an upper GI surgeon.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, and sometimes you kind of convince yourself after a few months, like, yeah, gonna be an upper GI surgeon, and you go into different stuff, you're like, oh, actually, you know what? Could be an A&E doctor.
I think after every rotation I did, I was like, I could do this career. And then I move on to the next thing, I'd be like, oh, I think I like this one more. And then I move on to something, I'm like, oh, this is my favourite now.
And then you go on Thompson Gynae, you're like, not doing Thompson Gynae. So yeah, I think that was quite exciting is because you got to think the way you think about these things is if I become an upper GI surgeon, I'm going to be cutting people open for a living for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
And that thought is quite exciting. So when you have that same thought every 4 months, it's quite exciting time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the favorite things for me would be that kind of excitement about maybe I can do this for a living.
I think the other thing I really enjoyed about being an F1, where I worked for medical jobs, you didn't do any night shifts. You'd have your long days where you'd work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m, but you didn't have any night shifts. When you're on surgery, you did have night shifts, but they were shorter. So a normal surgical night shift for regs and stuff would be from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Sorry, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Yeah.
For us, it was 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. and then we'd go home. So we didn't have to do any of the handover, none of the faffing around, staying till 10 o'clock for a ward round.
Mad.
We just left at 6. So you never really had like proper night shifts. If you've not done nights before, it's hard to explain how messed up your head gets towards the end of like your 3rd or 4th night shift. You just feel awful at all times. You still might get 7 hours, 8 hours sleep when you go home. But it's in the middle of the day, it's bright.
Yeah.
People are coming home halfway through your sleep. Like, it's
hard
weird.
to explain, man. You feel ill.
Yeah. You feel really run down.
And your thought processes aren't adequate.
No.
Sometimes I think they're not adequate to do things around the house.
Yeah.
Never mind, go and be a doctor.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're telling me one of your favourite things about foundation training was not really having to do foundation training.
Was not having to do night shift.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because those long days were all right. Like, you were busy, but you had the support around and you got home late, but it's okay. Like, getting home late isn't the same as staying up all night and sleeping in the day.
I mean, this is supposed to be a video about things we enjoyed about foundation training.
Yeah, so I enjoyed the fact that I didn't do nights.
Yeah, but you said one of the things you enjoyed was not having to go to work. Right.
But it's specific for an F1. Like, once you're an F2, you're going to do nights, right?
True.
Like, from that point onwards, you're going to do pretty much any specialty you go for. You're going to do night shifts, apart from maybe like GP. But as an F1, you're in this beautiful place where, in a lot of places, you're not expected to. You just have your long days, and it's just like you're eased into that world of messing your head up with nights.
No, that's your experience. That's your experience.
Loved it. Loved it.
Fair enough, mate.
What else did you enjoy about being F1?
I think in retrospect, I realised how much people look out for you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I will look back at my stage of training now, when I'm a consultant, and think, actually, people looked out for me then.
Yeah.
But I think you don't quite realise it. I mean, I'm not saying this is everyone's experience, but for me, I feel like all the more senior doctors and consultants, and even the other staff like the nurses, physios, etc., they all kind of knew you were a new doctor, and they were quite nice to me. They were very supportive. They never made me feel like an idiot, even though in retrospect I did some idiotic things.
Yeah.
Like, I think about some of the things I did now, and I was like...
And some of the questions you asked are just like... You think back, you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I asked that to like a reg or a consultant.
I remember asking some questions because at the time, because you're not sure, I remember genuinely thinking, oh my god, do I do this or do I do this? And if I do this instead of this, the patient might die. Yeah. But now, if I do this or I do this, it makes no difference.
Yeah.
It's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So for example, one of the questions I remember asking is, so when people's potassium is low, for example, it can be for various reasons when they're unwell, they're having diarrhea, vomiting, etc., etc. The potassium in the body's low, so you have to replace it. If it's just a little bit low, you don't have to really do anything. Yeah. You can just repeat
There's
it
like
later.
a range where it's low, but you kind of just leave it for a couple of days and see if it goes back to
Exactly,
normal.
and if it's very low, you can give them IV replacement. But if it's just a little bit low, you can give them tablets and check it, you know, a couple of days later.
Yeah.
I gave somebody some tablets because it was just a little bit low and I was worried about it. And then I was like, oh, when do I repeat it? So when do I repeat this?
An hour? An hour?
Panic. And I went to handover, which is at the end of the long shift. There's like all the doctors around, like all the senior doctors. Like you're just this little baby sat amongst like 15 people.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, and they go around being like, okay, the consultant, anything to let know about the night shift, any unwell patients, anything we need to know about. And they go around and eventually I was like, anyone else? And I was like, do I say it? I was like, do I ask them?
Yeah.
I flip it, ask them. I was like, when do I repeat the potassium? And to be fair to them, everyone was like, it's okay, don't worry about it. We'll handle it. And I was like, okay, thank you. So that's one aspect of it in terms of people looking out for you, that they accept your stupidness because everyone's been a new doctor at one point in their life. No matter how much of an ass they are now or how arrogant they are, which they can be sometimes, everyone's been a new doctor. So that's one aspect. The other aspect of it is genuinely looking out for you, making sure you don't do something outside the limits of your competence when you're pushed to. So for example, there was one time when we were really short-staffed and as a FY2, which is like a second year intern, I was the most senior doctor for that team. So I was like the boss, inverted commas, for that day. And I later found out that the consultants from the other teams knew about this and they had been reviewing all my patients after I saw them, but they didn't tell me. And they didn't really change it in my plans because touch wood, the patients weren't that complicated that day.
Yeah.
My plans were like acceptable. But it's that kind of people looking out for you but not quite telling you, which you in retrospect realise like you're really thankful for it.
Yeah.
Because the problem is when you're that inexperienced, if you do something stupid, you're not going to realise until it's too late. The way they did it in that particular instance was really nice because, like I said, they didn't really tell me.
Yeah.
But then they went round with me later to be like, oh, let's just make sure your patients are okay. Bear in mind, they'd already seen the patients separate to me. And they were like, oh, well done, like your plans are really good. And they still didn't tell me that they've been reviewing the patients. And I only found out about this a few months later when somebody let it slip by mistake. So it's quite nice.
Yeah, it is really nice.
And it kind of builds your confidence up. It helps you kind of, I don't want to say take more risks because that sounds a bit
Just
dodgy.
be more confident in your decisions.
Exactly, because yeah, I phrase it as take more risks, but ultimately medicine is about taking decisions. You're not going to know that the right decision until you start doing it. And it kind of pushes you to that next level. So I guess, yeah, coming back to the original point, in terms of people looking out for you, which is one of my favourite things with foundation training, the one aspect was them kind of accepting you don't know much and you're kind of learning on the job and being very accepting about it and creating a good environment for that to happen. And second is them genuinely creating a safety net for you.
Yeah.
Without necessarily making you feel, what's the word?
Like you don't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
I think in some places what can happen is because someone checks all your decisions, it feels like it doesn't matter what you do because someone's going to check it anyway and make sure it's fine. Whereas like in your case, it's quite nice that you were left to do it by yourself, but someone was just in the background making sure that things were okay. But you kind of felt, okay, I'm handling things.
Yeah, I'm doing it, mate. I'm doing it.
Which you were, because they didn't change things, right? So you were doing it by yourself.
But they could have made me feel like a mug being like, well, I've already checked it, mate, it's fine.
Yeah.
They could have easily done that, but they didn't.
Yeah. I think one other thing that I really did like was you feel like a grown-up in F1. You go from being a uni student at the age of like 23, 24, which is quite a lot older than most uni students.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're earning money, you've got a job, you have responsibility, you need to be at work, you need to do things, and you feel like a grown-up for the first time, which I did feel that was quite nice. Like you're not earning loads of money, you're not making really tough decisions, but you feel like you are. And it's that change that I really did like. You really do remember it as like you grow up quite quickly as well, from being a student to now being an adult, earning money, all that kind of stuff. You do feel that transition of having responsibility and having to do things.
100%. It's the first time I felt like an actual functional adult rather than just a student. Like you go from living with your friends to living with, you still might be living with friends, but you will have actual responsibility to other people, not just to yourself.
Even though it's quite scary and it is a lot having that responsibility, it does feel really good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I really enjoyed my foundation training. I might not have said it all the time then, especially when you're staying late and all that. But I think in retrospect, when I look back at my time, I don't think, oh, I'm glad that's over.
No.
I look back at it in quite a fond way and think, oh, I had a really good time. I made some really good friends.
If you're an F1 who's just started, let us know if any of this kind of resonates, or you're starting to pick up on these things now, or if you've been a doctor for a while, let us know what you enjoyed about your F1 year and maybe what things you agreed with, maybe you didn't agree with. Yeah, I really hope it does resonate with people, and if it's not, then maybe go speak to somebody, because foundation training should be enjoyable. It shouldn't be, it is going to be stressful, it is going to be scary, it is a steep learning curve, but it shouldn't be something you really are just hating. It shouldn't be like that. So if there are particular issues, I'd say go and try and speak to somebody about it, which is easier said than done, I suppose. So that's the end of the video, guys. If you liked the video, then click the like button and subscribe to our channel. And we'll be back with another video, this time next week as usual. Yeah, see you guys later.